Well, hello. Happy Tuesday if you're watching this the day that it is going up. I hope that everyone had a great Valentine's Day weekend. Here we got so much freaking snow all weekend long, but even like on Valentine's Day, that so much so that when I was driving home, I was making like the first tracks on the road in certain areas. Quite dicey. But anyways, it was worth it. I have a beautiful little rose in a jar back there, a blue one, because it knows that I'm nervous about flowers around the kitties. So he got that for me so that way I can still have a flower. And it lights up. It's really cool. But then I don't have to worry about the kitties like eating it. Because I know that there are certain flowers that aren't toxic to cats, but I am probably the most anxious cat mother ever, that I don't want to mess with any of them. So anyways, love that. So I hope that you guys all had a good Valentine's Day weekend, and that is the only kind of lighter and fluffier thing that we're going to be talking about in this entire video, because I have dark romance recommendations for you guys. I feel like it's been a long time. My dark romance videos are by far one of the most requested videos that I always get, and they're always like one of the most popular ones. Like I think maybe my most popular video on my channel is dark, like probably in the top 10, like 5 of those are dark romance videos. So I have some more for you guys. I'm gonna do the first 2 that I don't own so that way I don't forget about them. First up is Prisoned by Marne. This is my most recent read. I just finished this one, I think last week. And this one is a doozy. So it's the first book in the Prison series. However, like this couple story is done. Like the other 2 follow other characters, so it can be a one and done. And this one follows our heroine, Kyle. So she grew up in this place called the Heart. It's a very like poor area. A lot of people turn to drugs or turn to like drug dealing. There's a lot of crime, a lot of violence. And she has these 2 best friends that they really kind of like keep each other safe, keep each other fed. However, then something happens in the past where then now when we jump ahead to the present, one of the 3 of them has passed away and the other 2 are reunited at his funeral. And Kyle is really not excited to see Garen because she has some secrets that she's trying to keep from him, and he's really confused and just like hurt by why she just pretty much like left them high and dry after this accident happened years ago. So now they're at this funeral and they go out afterwards, and Garen is trying to get some answers out of Kyle when they are kidnapped, and they wake up in a cell together, and Kyle knows that they were taken because of her, and that she thinks that Garen is like innocent in all of this, and that he's just like kind of collateral damage for her at this point, but she's not willing to tell her secrets because she knows that it will completely destroy any semblance of hope of a relationship for her and Garen in the future, and it ends up being their romance. Let me tell you, this book kept me on my toes throughout the book. Like I really enjoyed it. Having a lot of fun with it. It's captive. It gets really obviously with all of these, check your triggers. I should just preface that if you're going into a dark romance book, I'm not going to say check your triggers with each one because I feel like that's obvious. This one I will say gets some pretty messed up stuff in it, but the ending, I literally had to sit and process it. I was like, I still don't fully know. I guess like what I don't know. I guess I still have questions, but I kind of like that. It's definitely different than something that I've read previously. Like I haven't read a book similar to this, I feel like. So a really fun one and very different from Marne. I've only ever read her other, like I think this is her only dark romance series, but I did really enjoy her writing style in the dark romance area. And then next up that we're going to talk about is Madness by Shantel Tessier. So this is technically, I think, book 6 in the Lord series. However, you can read them as standalones. I always suggest reading them in reading order. However, I did not read any of these in reading order, quite frankly. I jumped around. I think I read like 4, 1, 5, 3, like I've jumped all over the place. And we're going to talk about 6 because this is the most recent one and it is one of my favorites out of the whole series. So this one follows Hayden and Charlotte. So Hayden is a part of the Lords, which is this secret society that basically like these men, you know, just kind of like run shit, like wealthy men kind of getting to do whatever they want. And they're in all these high paying positions, secret society stuff, right? However, so Hayden, he specifically works at this place called Carnage, which is like the jail for the Lords. So like if you betray the Lords, if you betray your oaths, if you try to run, if you try to backstab, if you try to like break any sort of rules, you're getting sent to Carnage and you're never to be seen again. Like it's basically, it is a death sentence, but it's like a torture death sentence. And basically he's got this whole kind of host of issues in past that I'm not going to get into. You can figure it out when you read it. But basically how Charlotte comes into the mix is she is sent in, she is a part of this society. She is like, she's a Lord's daughter, I think. So she's like, she kind of knows what's up with it, and she gets sent in kind of blackmailed, kind of on a secret mission a little bit, to pose as Hayden's therapist to try to get some information out of him. And she really wants like a place. She does not just want to be married off as like women are to these men and then just like sit at home, you know, and like wait for their husbands to come home. Like she wants to have a part. She wants to be powerful, and she kind of sees this mission as an opportunity to do so. However, obviously, like, Hayden's gonna suss that out. And there's a lot more to it. It's a very layered, like, the plot in this one, loved it. My favorite plot out of all of the Lord's books, but also, like, the spice is just insane. It's very dark and messed up, obviously, because this world is very dark and messed up. I absolutely love it. These books are so much fun, and Hayden in particular was the one that I was most looking forward to, because you know it's always the quiet ones, and he was a great time. Let's see. Okay, now I got a stack of 5 books over here. So should we just pick them off one after another? Let's just do that. Next up, we have Shattered Obsession by Tina Spencer. This is a dark hockey romance. I would say out of all of the romances on this list, this is probably one of the lighter ones. I mean, it's still darker, obviously, but it's not like super like messed up between the two of them. It's just not the darkest one on this list, but it's still like got that edge to it. And so this one is a brother's best friend fake dating hockey romance. So our hero, he is a hockey player in New York. Big deal, right? However, he has a bit of a reputation, a bad reputation, and everyone's kind of getting sick of it. And they're like, you need to kind of like clean up your image a little bit. You can't just keep like doing this with all of these like random women. And that is where our heroine comes into play, her older brother. So she recently loses her job out of circumstances kind of under her control, and she ends up getting moved out to New York. And when she goes out there, she kind of sees that as an opportunity to reconnect with her older brother, who she has like a bit of a relationship with, but hasn't really been able to really like have much contact with in recent years. And he's excited. He's like, yeah, come here. He's a big real estate guy. So he's like, move into my apartment building. Like, I'll set you up. You can have a room, whatever. Like, you're going to be set. And when she arrives, she realizes that her brother's best friend, our hero, also lives in the same apartment building, and they do not like each other. Or more so, she's always felt like he's hated her for some reason, and she has never really been able to figure out why. She's kind of like, what's your problem? Let's just say there's some layers to be uncovered between the two of them, okay? I'll leave it at that because I don't want to accidentally spoil anything. But obviously the story goes on, and you get to kind of unfold all of those unpeel. Yeah, no, not unpeel. Peel back those layers. It's a Monday, okay? And yeah, I will just say there's some rent-free stuff from this book in my head. Oh, and basically how it ends up coming into play is that he needs a fake girlfriend and she agrees to be his fake girlfriend. I will say it's not super heavy on the fake dating. That element doesn't come in until later on in the story. So I would say, like, if that's like the biggest draw for you to this book, I'll just warn you, like, it takes a little bit to get into that. It's not like immediately they start fake dating and that's a big focus of it, but it is a part of the book. I loved it. And it's the first book in a duet. Or, well, I think it's going to be a series, but like they have 2 books and then other characters. Like, I think the brother's getting a book, and I'm very excited for his. Once you read this, I think you'll understand why. Next up, let's go with, I feel like I have not talked about this book in so freaking long, and I don't know why, but this is The Madhouse by Liza James. This is, again, the first book in a duet. I will warn you, book 2 is not out yet. I think Liza James is working on it right now, but I will just warn you in case if you're like one of those people who doesn't like to read books when like the other ones aren't out yet. It's not, but this is so freaking good. Also, this cover is one of my favorites. And this is a dark, sapphic step-siblings romance. So, what are they? Are they Fee? And what is the other one? Cedar. Okay, I would have completely forgot about that. But Ophelia and Cedar. So, I don't know whose parent marries who, but whatever, regardless. Their parents end up getting married when they're, I think, like, maybe in their early teens, maybe. But most important thing to note is that they are a part of a religious cult, or like a cult growing up. And basically Cedar gets to a point where she has to run. Like, there's really no other option for her. So she ends up running. But when she does that, obviously, then she leaves Ophelia behind. And then that really kind of like leaves her to the wolves almost, because then her parents are like, okay, we lost one daughter. Like, we can't have this looking like we're these horrible parents. So we're going to put everything on to Ophelia to make sure that she's like this perfect little crafted, like molded cult daughter, you know? And Ophelia doesn't want that either. And basically years pass. You really only get that kind of like his backstory. The story then takes place where Cedar ends up getting a phone call, ring, ring. Your parents were murdered by your stepsister. Do you want to come and like pick up your stepsister, kind of? And Cedar's like, sure. yeah, why not? So then she goes and picks up Ophelia, and she is not super happy to be reunited with her sister, because even though that, like, they were really close when they were younger, she has not forgotten that Cedar literally abandoned her and kind of like started this whole new life. And obviously they have a lot like that they both have been through, that then over the course of the book they kind of start to unravel with each other. I loved it. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I love Liza James's writing. Her writing is one of my favorites. I almost included Vibe in this video instead, because Vibe is my favorite book from her. However, I haven't talked about this book in so long, and it's kind of like, I think it was like Lizzie Borden inspired, but like make it sapphic and like step siblings, which why not? Okay, we got 3 more, and next up, we got a fave. I mean, I have a lot of favorites in this video, because like Shire Obsession was one too, but God of Malice. Okay, can I get through a video? Oh, look at how perfect my nails match too. Beautiful. Can I get through a video without talking about Legacy of Gods? I could, but I don't want to, because I love it that much. This is the first book in the Legacy of Gods series. It is a spin-off, kind of second generation of other books in the Rina universe. And it's kind of like these 2 mafia schools where a lot of these like rich, wealthy, or like mafia families send their children to, and it's like these kind of rivaling schools. But this first one follows Killian and Glyndon. So both of their parents have other books in the Rina universe. Let me just set the stage for the opening of this book. Okay, Glyndon is out on a cliff, okay, and she is considering jumping. She's kind of replaying this one memory back in her mind a little bit, and she's standing there kind of wondering, like, what do I want to do? Testing the waters, testing the idea, a little bit of that, until a voice interrupts her and says, not quote, but like pretty close to it, if you're gonna jump, at least like let me photograph you, because I want to like photograph your death. So she's like, excuse me, who are you? And that is our hero, Killian. Yeah, he wants to photograph her death because he's fascinated by that. So when he sees her, that's what he basically asks her. Glyndon ends up being like, I gotta get out of here. I don't feel like good vibes from you. She ends up slipping, okay? She slips off the cliff. Then Killian catches her, and he's like, well, here's the thing. I will pull you up and help you, but you're gonna owe me, and you're gonna owe me right now, if you know what I mean, or I'll let you fall. And she's like, okay, like, I'll say whatever I can get to get pulled back over the edge. However, then when he pulls her over, then she realizes, like, oh, he was serious. Oh, and he wants to cash in right now. Oh, okay, yeah, and that is how their romance starts. And then it spirals from there. Killian, you know, doesn't end up really leaving Glyndon alone. He becomes fascinated by her. I will say, the traditionally published version, I have not read. I do think they changed the first couple chapters a little bit to be a little more, like, dub-con-esque than like non-con, how it was in the indie versions. Now, I have not, like I said, I have not read, so don't take my word for that. But if you, obviously, you know, that's like how this book starts out. So just a heads up on that. And also, Killian's a psychopath. Like a literal psychopath. So also just a warning on that. Personally, I loved it. His POV chapters were my favorite of this book, just because I loved hearing how he processed emotions, how he processed the actions of other people around him, how he cataloged that information, and how he altered his behavior based on what he calculated. It was just, I loved it. I love him. Yeah, this kicks it all off. You don't have to read them in order, but I picked the first one just because. Okay, now next up is the one that I'm going to warn you is not like traditional romance, but I loved it. It's going to be a top book of mine of this year. And if you've already watched my wrap up and my duet recommendation video, I already talked about it. We're gonna be talking about it a lot, I feel like, okay? Torment by Dylan Page. Torment Part 1 and Part 2. It's a duet. I mean, there's more to the series, but these characters, their romance, like, starts and ends in the first 2 books. So this one follows our character. Hey, be nice. She doesn't want to play. She was sleeping. Why did you bother her? He's such a bully. Anyways, ironic then that we're talking about this book. So this one follows our heroine, Mina. So when she is younger, she's living with her single mother, and then one day her mom gets a boyfriend. And after her dad had passed away, she was kind of yearning for some sort of like connection, for some sort of family structure, because then her mom, obviously being a single mother, she was having to work a lot, trying to do a lot to keep them afloat. So she just kind of lacked a lot of attention. And then once her mom meets James, then she kind of starts getting that sense of family. And then it's not until it's it's too late that her mom realizes that her new boyfriend James is a part of the motorcycle club that is in their town, and he is not just going to like let them go. She kind of doesn't understand why her mom doesn't like love this new motorcycle club family that she has, and specifically her new best friend Shay, who is her new stepbrother. So it is stepbrother, stepsister, age gap. So she first meets Shay, I think when Mina's like 7 and he's maybe 13 or maybe 13, I think. And just immediately he kind of takes her under his wing. Then it shows between past and then also present, where Mina has witnessed or has been a part of a horrible attack and accident, and she's kind of reeling with that and with the outcome, I guess, of that night. I don't want to say anything and accidentally give that away. And also because I pretty much went into these books completely blind, so I don't really want to accidentally give anything more away about them. I will just say, like I said, it's not super traditional, and let me tell you, it's dark. It's messed up, okay? Like, you've been warned. It made me uncomfortable reading it at times. All I will say, I guess, about it, before I'm just going to shut my mouth before I accidentally give anything away, is that if anyone wants to say anything bad about Mina, the heroine in here, I'll fight. I will defend this character until the end. Like, I don't understand how anyone can read this book and just not feel anything but just like empathy towards her. I'll leave it at that. It's very dark, very messed up, and yeah, step siblings and motorcycle club. And last but certainly not least, we have a dark academia one. So kind of switch up the vibes a little bit if you don't want just like, mostly a lot of the other ones are like more dark, kind of like between the characters and stuff. This one is more of kind of like a dark, spooky setting and like some of the other side plots going on, and that's Nocticadia by Keri Lake. So this one, our heroine Lilia, she sees her mother die, and like when she dies in this very gruesome way where like these things come crawling out of her body, and she's kind of like, okay, what just happened right in front of my face? And no one really believes her. Just like chalk up her death to some like random thing, and she's like, that's not right, but also like no one's gonna listen to me, and I don't really have any resources to say differently, so she just kind of has to let it go. And she ends up then trying to work in the medical field, but she doesn't have any money to go to school, so she's just like working as like a lab cleanup person or something. And that is until she gets an acceptance letter from Nocticadia University, and she's like, I definitely didn't apply, but she accepts because it's this university where she can actually go and get an education, which is what she's been wanting. And when she arrives there, she realizes that she maybe has some roots tied in here, and that she might be able to find answers to what happened to her mother here. And then our hero, oh, what is his name? Deverick? Yes, Deverick Bramwell, because he's Professor Bramwell, or Dr. Bramwell. He is a professor at the university, and he is also a researcher, and he is doing research specifically that Lilia then realizes that might align with what she's trying to figure out about her mother. And he has some interesting ways of researching, let's just say that. But he very much so, he's like, I work alone, I don't accept anyone's help. But over the course of the book, then they start to realize that maybe they do have like mutually aligned interests, and also then a slow burning romance brews between the two of them. There's so much more to this book. I will say it's thick, but that is because there's so much plot to this book. There's like some world building. Sorry, I better not be getting sick or I'm gonna be pissed. Anyways, there's a lot of world building. The romance is super slow burn. Obviously, it's student teacher. The dark academia vibes are perfect. Like the setting, the atmosphere of this romance is so fun. Very immersive. Absolutely loved it. And like I said, if you're looking for like a bit of a different vibe than just some of the traditional dark romances, definitely give this one a go. It's awesome. Anyways, that is it for the dark romance recommendation books that I have for you today. That is it for today's video. Friday, I don't know what's going to be up Friday, and I think next week, I think the next couple weeks, you might only be getting like one video a week. We will see. The day that this video is going up, I am really getting into my last like month of deadline until I have to turn in goalie to my editor. So we're nearing crunch mode because I haven't finished my first draft yet. So I'm taking some time off of work coming up to just be able to like dedicate to that before then I go to New York for a weekend. So we'll see. I will get as many videos up as possible, but you know, like around deadline time, something's got to give, and that typically ends up being 1, the cleanliness of my apartment, and 2, YouTube videos. But it makes it worth it in the end. So anyways, we'll see what's up on Friday and what is up over the next few weeks. But anyways, that is it for today's video, and I will see you when I see ya.